Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending this session. I am not Stephen Timms. I'm actually Brian Meyer, the CIO for Raven Industries. I've been with Raven for about a year now, and what we want to cover today is just lessons learned about disaster recovery. A real quick story. When I first came in, we were doing some upgrades, and I think it was perfect timing. I don't know if they had planned that, but there was a large budget that needed to be approved, and we just averted a disaster. So it was quite easy to actually go to the executive board and say, hey, we don't want this to happen again, and so it was a very easy sell. So just a little bit of background on Raven Industries. We're very much a niche market player in 4 distinct markets. We have Aerostar, which is a division that provides protection for our troops over in Afghanistan with aerostats and parachutes. We have an electronic systems division that does contract manufacturing for organizations. We also have a engineered film division that produces plastics, engineered films. And if you saw, unfortunately, the disaster over in Haiti, those tents and things those blue tents were some product that we provide. And then the last division is ATD, and that's in precision agriculture. I heard last night that 86% increase in corn production on 36% less acres is now established. I wasn't sure what the time frame was for that, but my point in going over the background is Raven Industries is in manufacturing. We're not an IT organization, and we don't bring in technology for the purposes of technology, but to support our company's growth. So the vendors that we choose and the technology that we choose is extremely important for us, because we're here to actually support a 15% growth year over year. So that's what I want you to walk away from is it's very important which vendors you choose, and it's very important which vendors we choose. And I wanted to thank our sponsors, Northland Systems and Xigent, for really stepping in and helping us to aggressively reach these goals. And I'll turn it over to Steve Timms. He's our Director of Technical Services, and we'll go from there. Okay. Thanks, Stephen.
All right, so Brian kind of did a nice little introduction, but I kind of want to talk about what we had for an environment about a year ago, and then kind of where we are now, and what happened, and why we have a new environment now. So about a year ago, we had a primary storage environment of about 14 terabytes of data. That consisted of all VMware servers, all of our Exchange servers, basically all of our core Windows environment. About 90 virtual machines at that time. And Sioux Falls, South Dakota was our main data center that manages all of our remote outlying plants. We've got plants in Austin, Texas, Earth City, Missouri, Sulphur Springs, Texas. We support users in Canada, Australia, Europe. So the core of Raven is in Sioux Falls downtown. So with that, we had a very manual tape backup method. We did weekly tape backups. We'd hand deliver those backups off-site to an old school safe. We'd have a guy label these tapes by hand. So at any given moment, we could have up to a 7-day loss of data if we had a catastrophic failure. So with that, we had a catastrophic failure. We did a routine firmware upgrade. We consulted it out with IBM. They came in. I'm going to do a firmware upgrade on our SAN. So we had about 36 disks supporting all this data. And during that process, I remember sitting in the data center with him, and everything was going good, and all of a sudden 4 red lights hit on our drives. And he's like, oh, I know how to fix this. This isn't a big deal. Let me just do this. Types in a command, and then 4 more lights ticked, and we lost 8 hard drives. It broke all of our RAID arrays because it was dispersed appropriately to take down everything. So with that, all of our core applications, management servers, web servers, SharePoint, Exchange, Active Directory was all down for the whole company. When Sioux Falls is down, every remote is down. So Texas was not able to log in. Earth City couldn't access SharePoint. People weren't getting their emails on their phones. We've got salespeople in meetings. And probably the biggest thing, although not the biggest business impact, but the same day, we had a board meeting. So all of our board members were in Sioux Falls downtown. Actually, it was the day after the upgrade, but you can see where it kind of had a large business impact. So we came to the stage where we did a reality check, and we kind of did a recap. Obviously, it took weeks to clean up this mess. Lots of restores, lots of help. We called in a lot of help. People that we knew, vendors that we had supplied our sand. We had Northland and Xigent come in and help out, try to get some VMs restored and get some systems back up and running as quickly as we could. But we sat down and had some serious conversations, and Brian was a huge part in that too, but trying to figure out we cannot have this happen again. We had a lot of gaps, we had a lot of issues. Not many of us had been there very long, and our IT budget in the past was very small, so we did what we could with what we had, but now we kind of need to think bigger. A lot of our facilities are 24/7. We've got production lines running around the clock. So when we're down, no matter what system it is, you really find out how critical even SharePoint or Exchange or even a simple web server is. So we decided to bring in some help and start figuring something out. Like Brian said, it was perfect timing because it was right around budget season. So we had a real nice reason to really bring in some big hitters and try to find a big solution for next year. So we brought in Northland Systems, who we've worked with in the past. And then we kind of just started scoping, sizing, and going over our servers. One of the coolest things was we went through every individual system we had, all 90 or 100, and actually did individual recovery objectives, recovery point objectives for each of those systems. And then we talked to the business to see exactly how critical those services were. Very interesting, because systems that we thought were critical maybe weren't as critical to them, and systems that they thought were critical, we had no idea that they were that important. So we learned a lot about what we had, a lot about what was important, and kind of where we needed to go with that. Here's an example of some of the whiteboard sessions we had. I've got a big old document full of these. They're all over the place, all parts of the building, different sites, just scribbling up what we had, where we wanted to go, and all kinds of different solutions that might fit our environment. We ended up choosing NetApp. For us, it was a clear, obvious winner. We talked to some other customers, even in town, that people that have it. We did a fair amount of research, but we didn't have a lot of time to really test out all kinds of different products. We needed to make a decision soon and get something in. We no longer trusted our current environment, although IBM gave it, God's blessing and said it's all good now, everything's fixed. We still didn't have any backup methods in place in case something like this ever happened again. So we went with NetApp. Northland helped bring that in, and we ordered it January in 2011. The cool thing that's kind of impressive is in March, we had it installed in 2 data centers. We now have a data center in Yankton, South Dakota that never existed before that replicates all of our data near time. So right now, from 9:45 until 10:45, there'll be a fresh copy of all of Raven's data in Yankton, South Dakota, secure of all these systems in real time. So it's pretty neat to see. And here's kind of a little diagram of what we have. But you'll see the biggest thing is all of our remote locations, they sync up to Sioux Falls. So Sioux Falls is our hub. Everything comes here, file servers, email, Active Directory replication, all that comes home. So we do our backups off of Sioux Falls downtown. We still do tape backups because we still need 7 years retention, but we're able to add a new data center here in Yankton that syncs everything up from NetApp, so all of our systems come back to NetApp here, and then NetApp dumps to Yankton. So we have a nice DR plan right now. Going forward, we're at DR now. I want to take it to HA. I want to have a highly available system, going with something like Site Recovery Manager or more real-time, this is down within an hour, let's fire it up in Yankton, or maybe we delay a few things. But we've learned a lot. We had a power failure after we had this in place. Business decisions such as how long of a power outage do we want to take before we decide to fire up Yankton? And when is that cutover point? Because you really don't want to fire up your backup site unless you're down for X amount of time. So we're still developing a lot of those procedures and trying to figure out exactly what fits Raven in our business. But it's definitely a good first step. So from my side, I oversee the administration of our environment, and it's been a huge benefit with NetApp. And I'm not here to sell it to anybody, but it's been huge, and the main word is simple. Complex to install, you definitely want to have someone you trust putting this in your environment. But if it's set up right, it's so easy to manage and administer. There's so many times so far that this has saved us, helped us grow, came in at the last minute to provision some storage real quick for an environment. We do a lot of upgrades. It's been a very busy year, and NetApp has really helped me to add storage quick to an Exchange environment. Or we have a server down, I can just get that snapshot from last night, from an hour ago, from Yankton, fire it up and use it. Many of you probably use NetApp. You probably know a lot of this as well. One of the biggest things that I thought was cool was deduplication. So when we were sizing this environment, we got 14 terabytes of data. We estimated our growth, how much storage we need. We need 20 terabytes. Well, working with NetApp and other vendors, we realized, no, we don't need 20 terabytes. We need much less. And here's just an example of one volume that we had. The main point is here's how much it should look like on just regular dumb disk or regular storage, and here's how much it looks like on NetApp. With this particular volume, we had 45% savings with deduplication. So 500 gigs with that volume is just a smaller volume. The trend that I see is about a 30% average across all of our major volumes. I mean, think about it. If you have 20 Windows servers all made from the same image on one volume, it only takes up probably 1/10 of that space or 1/5. So it's been really neat to see kind of how that works. Business benefits, Brian touched on this definitely, but it's huge for us is we don't provide IT technology. People aren't renting things from us for IT. They aren't coming to us for the newest and the greatest services. We support the company, we support the growth. So we don't want something that's going to come in and be a huge administrative overhead. We don't have a huge admin staff. We need something that's going to be easy to work with, portable, something that's going to protect our environment and kind of be secure. We've got a lot of other initiatives this year. We've recently deployed Exchange 2010, SharePoint 2010, Project Server 2010. We're going to AD08 this year. So you can see we don't really have time to be messing with a storage platform that has a lot of overhead. We need something that we can trust, that's just going to be able to fire up some systems and be reliable. So with that, that's all I had to talk about today. If any of you guys have questions, shoot them out now or come find me later. I'll be here all day. So a lot of stuff going on at Raven. We're staying busy, but this is a solution and a catastrophe, I guess, that kind of turned out for the best for us. And if you guys can plan your catastrophes right around budget season, I think it really helps out. So with that, yeah, that's all I have. So thank you.